All right, sir. Thank you very much. And now, guys, let's dive into this pretty stacked UFC Fight Night card. UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett. Oh, my God, that main event. That's one of the main events where I just kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
The doctors better be on
banger.
standby.
Oh, my God.
The ambulances better be on standby. The hospitals better get notified when that main event is done. Like, all hands better be on deck because both of them are probably going to end up being fucked up by the end.
Get some more nurses, pay them overtime, get them in there. Anyway, okay, let's start at the bottom of this card and work our way up. So in the middleweight division, Roman, help me say his last name. Dolidze versus Kyle Daukaus. Mark, let me throw this over to you first. What's your take on Dolidze versus Daukaus?
Oh, I just messed up my screen. Okay, I'm back. Odds on this one. Daukaus is actually a pretty big favorite. He is minus 240. Dolidze is plus 190. I could see Dolidze come out strong here, but I like the matchup for Daukaus. I think he has enough grappling to counter Dolidze's. He's generally good against the cage, which is where Roman likes to fight. And I just think he's more opportunistic. I think he's the more dangerous striker. I think he's maybe even the more dangerous sub-threat if it's on the ground. So I expect him to find ways to win more moments of this fight. Obviously, he's going to try to get Roman's going to try to grind him out, but I think Daukaus wins more moments, wins a decision.
Omar, you got a quick pick for us? Dolidze versus Daukaus?
I'm also going to go with Kyle Daukaus. I think he'll actually find a submission before the end of the fight. I will go round 2 just because I don't think it'll actually get to round 3. But I will make sure that everyone is also aware that Roman Dolidze's nickname is the Caucasian. So everyone's going to have to reconcile with that shit and figure out what that's about. Kyle Daukaus, however, has the badass nickname of the Darce Knight. So respect to Kyle Daukaus because, damn, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It sure is. It sure is. Okay. Moving on up now. Staying, though, in the middleweight division, Phil Hawes returning to the octagon since his upset loss against Chris Curtis, taking on Darren Nguyen. Omar, you have a quick take and a quick pick for us?
So, Darren Nguyen, I'm not entirely sold on. The kid fights out of AKA. It seems like he would have all the tools and the preparation to really like shine in the UFC, but he really hasn't been that impressive. His ground game really hasn't been as, I feel like, effective as it probably should be, considering the people he trains with and the people who push him, Khabib, DC, and people like that. I think Megatron will have, Phil Hawes, Megatron, will have more of an advantage, especially when it comes to the size. And I don't think he'll be taken down as easily as some of the other people Darren Nguyen has been able to fight and take down as easily as he has. So I'm going to go with Phil Hawes. I think this is going to be a decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight, but I do think it will be a clear win for Hawes.
Mark?
So Hawes is a pretty big favorite here, even bigger than I expected. He's minus 275. Win is plus 215. I am very interested to see if one guy has the better wrestling here because they're both quality wrestlers. And if it turns out that one is better than the other, it could change the way this fight plays out if a guy's just able to lean on that. But I think it's close enough that we're going to have to see plenty of action on the feet. I think that Hawes is just more athletic and has the better hands. And for that reason, I'm going to roll with him. I was tempted to say knockout, but Nguyen has never been finished, so got a little tentative, and I think I'm just going to say Hawes by a clear decision.
Dude, Hawes' leg, I think, is the size of Darren Nguyen. Like, Darren Nguyen is tiny.
He's a weird middleweight, man. He's a weird middleweight. His body just, it should be smaller.
Yeah. Alrighty, marching up this card now in the bantamweight division, a fun one between two pretty established guys. Eddie Weinland takes on Cody Stamann, both looking to get back in the win column. Mark, what's your take and your pick for Weinland versus Stamann?
So Stamann is a huge favorite here. He is minus 500. The veteran Weinland is plus 380. I was just pulling up Stamann's record to remind myself exactly the names, but this man has had good fights with guys like Song Yadong, like Jimmy Rivera. He was even going back and forth with Marab a little bit. Like, the dude has hung with guys, and it makes sense that he's minus 500 when you hear that. So I don't expect Eddie Weinland to give him much trouble. I think Weinland is kind of past it. His chin doesn't really seem to hold up anymore. Plus, Stamann can take him down if he needs to. So as much as Cody Stamann has been, he's lost 3 in a row. He's not looking his best lately. I think that he bounces back possibly in a big way here. I'll say ground and pound, TKO, round 2.
Omar?
I'd have to agree. Cody Stamann is a very scrappy guy, very scrambly guy. And I don't think that Eddie Weinland is going to be able to keep up. I think once we really start getting into that fight, I just think Cody's going to be a step ahead of him. Eddie's going to be trying to kind of catch up, if you will, in the middle of that fight, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So I go with Cody Stamann by decision. I don't think he puts out Eddie Weinland, but another one that's probably going to be a handy victory.
Okay, moving up into the women's strawweight division. We have Brazil on Brazil violence. Maria Oliveira takes on Gloria de Paula. Omar, let me stick with you here. Give us your quick pick.
Yeah, I got to say, I really like Gloria de Paula, at least in this fight, I should say. I think that she's, out of the two, probably a little bit more skilled in the feet. Granted, I haven't seen much of Maria Oliveira. She's got a few KOs in her career, but nothing in the UFC, and we all know that once you get to the UFC, shit tends to change quite a bit. So I'm going to go with Gloria de Paula. I'm going to go with decision.
Mark, you got a quick pick and a quick take for us?
Yes. De Paula favored here, minus 275. Oliveira plus 210. I'm going with De Paula. I have, as much as she's, some fights have not gone her way, I've been impressed with her striking. I think that is what makes the difference in this fight, and I think she rides that to a decision.
Okay, moving up in through this card in the featherweight division, Ricardo Ramos takes on Danny Chavez. Mark, let me stick with you.
Ramos minus 300 here, Chavez plus 240. There's so many fights, I'm losing my place when I'm trying to tell you guys the odds. Yeah, I like Ramos here. I think Ramos is an underrated fighter, personally. He's bounced around divisions a little bit. I think he's in the right spot now. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight that I think just allows him to keep Chavez at a distance, pick him apart. I think Chavez probably tries to force a brawl at times. I think he needs to, but I think Ramos is too good and wins a decision.
Omar?
I 100% agree. I haven't really been sold on Chavez. He's got heart, but at the same time, I don't really think he has the skills to back it up. At least from what I've seen. So I'm gonna go with Ramos. I'm actually gonna go with second round TKO. Make it spicy.
Oh. Alrighty, in the welterweight division, we have the 35-year-old Jeremiah Wells challenging the 37-year-old Court the Crusher McGee. Omar, let me stick with you here. What's your take on this welterweight clash?
Bro, this is a rough fight for McGee. I think this is a real test. I've been really loving the Court McGee as of late. He's seemed to really make a real turn in his career, flip some kind of switch. So I'm hard pressed to choose against him. But Jeremiah Wells is a fucking specimen. Like, that dude is a monster. He's a straight up monster. God damn it, I want to pick Court McGee so bad, but like logic doesn't want me to do it. It's the emotions. Gun to my head, I'm going Jeremiah Wells by KO. Round 2.
Mark?
Yeah, this is a tough matchup for Jeremiah Wells. Like, it's a lot less of a name than who he's coming off of, having just fought Drew Dober. But matchup-wise, it's tricky. And honestly, I was surprised to see this. McGee is favored. He's minus 120. Wells is plus 100. I mean, it's practically a pick'em. But, yeah, I'm tempted to go McGee. Like, obviously Wells is going to, unless he changes his, whole strategy, but he is going to come out hot. He's going to try to blitz McGee, but McGee is not a guy that's easy to make go away. His stamina's there all fight. Wells, as we know, is not. I remember saying after McGee's last fight when he beat Ramiz Brahimai that it was the best I thought Court McGee had looked in a while, and before that was Claudio Silva, where he looked really good too. Like, he's kind of on a bit of a resurgent run. And as much as he may just get deaded in like the first 3 minutes, which is entirely possible, and I'm feeling very coin flippy about it, I think I'm going to go Court McGee and say that he wins rounds 2 and 3 and wins a decision.
Okay. Moving on. Omar, I got you, right?
Yep.
For that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Women's flyweight, my bad. Women's flyweight. Tell me if I'm butchering her name. Is it Jasmine?
Yep.
Or Jasmine?
I think it's Jasmine, right?
Jasmine, and I'm totally going to fuck this up. Jasudavicius?
I think it's
Jasudavicius.
Yeah.
Really?
It might be vicious, but yeah, it's a.
I thought it was vicious.
Takes on.
It could be vicious. You might be right. Vicious.
Takes on Natalia Silva. Mark, let me stick with you here. Give us your quick pick.
Jasudavicius minus 250, Silva plus 200. Silva, the debuting fighter here. I trust Jasudavicius. I just think that Silva is maybe a bit raw. I think that Jasudavicius can hang on the ground, which is where Silva will try to bring it. I think that Jasudavicius has the better striking, and I will lean her way for a decision.
Omar?
Yeah, I would also agree. Looking at De Silva's resume, the one big fight or the one big name that we can take away from there is Marina Rodriguez, and Marina Rodriguez was able to stop all of the submission nonsense that she has on this record of hers. She is taking arms with her left and right in jungle fight, but it doesn't seem like when we get to the top tier of the skill level that she's able to perform the same exact way. So I'm also going to take Jasmine in this fight. I'll go decision.
Nice. Okay, up next we have Omar's boy, and I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'll have Omar go first since it's his boy. In the bantamweight division, Adrian Yanez takes on Tony Kelly. Omar, what do you got?
This is his new nickname now. Adrian, your boy Yanez. Eric Andrews is just stay home. Crazy ass fights. Yeah, man. Adrian Yanez. His hands are something else. I will watch him all day as long as that's the performances he keeps going. Tony Kelly fight seems to me like a fight that they want Adrian Yanez to win. Tony Kelly is respectable, but at the same time, this is a very winnable fight for Adrian Yanez, I think. And I think it's a fight that he would be able to style on Tony Kelly as well. So I'm going to go with Adrian Yanez, and I'm going to go first round KO.
Okay, Mark.
All right, Yanez minus 340 here. Kelly plus 250. I know how you feel about talking about Jake Matthews now because I love Yanez too, and I don't like that he doesn't get to be my boy. But yeah, this is not the opponent I expected Yanez to be stepping in there with after his last one. I guess they're going the slow roll route with him, and I get it kind of, but like he's 28. It's not like he's 22 or 23, and we're like trying not to rush him. Like the time is now. So I hope if he wins impressively here, we pull the trigger on someone a bit bigger when it comes to the next opponent. But with that said, even though Kelly is not as proven, I do still think he can give Yanez a tough fight. The guy's a dog. He's not going to go away. He's got a gas tank. He can hang anywhere the fight goes. I just don't think he's good enough to beat Adrian Yanez. Like, if you're losing to Kai Kamaka, no disrespect to him, I can't see you beating Yanez. I think Yanez puts the hands on him. I think he relies on his timing as usual, mixes it up, goes to the body, breaks him down, and I think he's just winning the rounds. I expect it to maybe like feel semi-competitive, but I think he's winning all the rounds. 30-27, Yanez.
Okay. Moving on up, gentlemen, into the main card of UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett. In the middleweight division, Julian the Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez takes on Gregory Rodriguez Robocop out of Brazil, or is it Rodriguez perhaps? Mark, let me stick with you here. What's your take on this middleweight bout?
So, the favorite here is Rodriguez. He is minus 190. Marquez is plus 150. I like Gregory Rodriguez. Like, I don't know what it is. I know he just lost his last fight, but it was a scrap with Arman Petrosian, who also looked really good in his debut. I wasn't sure Rodriguez would be favored here, but obviously he is almost 2-1. So I guess other people like him as well. Maybe he gets beat by Marquez. Marquez does seem like he's kind of, he's one of these guys that doesn't fight all that often, but he's better every time you see him. So maybe he gets beat here, and I got to realize he's maybe not quite as good as I think. But I'm going to pick him once again. I just think that Marquez kind of lets himself end up in brawly, sometimes sloppy type fights, and I think that Rodriguez is a dangerous dude. I think he can finish it in multiple ways, and I will say that he knocks out Marquez in the second.
Oh, baby. Omar, what do you make of these two big heavyweights going at it?
They're middleweights.
Excuse me, I meant to say middleweights.
You know what's on my mind right now? Do you think they pronounce it Hobocop?
They don't.
They probably do.
They say RoboCop on the broadcast. I know.
On the broadcast,
Brazil.
Brazil.
I mean, in Brazil, like, do they call him Hobocop?
Hobocop? Probably.
Probably.
Gregory Hobocop Rodriguez.
Do you want to watch Hobocop? Damn, that kind of takes away, like, the badassness of the word, doesn't it?
Not to them, man. Not to them. That's R to them.
All right. Sorry, I was looking at it. I was like Rodriguez, but then Hobocop has got to be the same thing. Those are our tangents, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. These are the kinds of things that keep me up at night.
Facts. I actually really like Julian Marquez. I think his grappling is pretty slick. I think he's definitely a personality for sure. But as far as his fighting is concerned, I actually think he's very effective. The one thing that I really don't like about Rodriguez is how vulnerable he tends to be. His last couple fights, they have been scraps, but his defense is not great. And I think he's squeaked out the fights that he's been able to win in the first place. And I think Marquez can sometimes be a little bit more dominant in those positions than Rodriguez has been able to show. I trust Marquez a little bit more to win this fight, especially to finish the fight. So I'm going to go with Marquez by submission round 2.
Very good. Okay, moving on up into the lightweight division. These guys' names are tough. Damir Ismagulov versus Uram. Anybody know how to say his name?
Kutateladze.
Kutateladze.
And I think it's Ismagulov.
Ismagulov. Mistaken. Motherfucker. Omar, let me stick with you. The 23-1 Ismagulov versus the 12-2 Kutateladze. How do you say it?
Yeah, that's it.
Kutateladze.
Kutateladze. I have to practice that one.
Well, this fight is, I mean, I probably would have to flip a coin like 5 times to really nail down a decision as to who I think is going to win this fight. And you know, I think the way I'm going to choose this fight is by the last fighter that they fought. And I hold Mateusz Gamrot just above Rafael Alves, I think it was.
Yes.
So with that in mind and that criteria that I'm working off, I'm going to go with Kutateladze by decision. But like anything could happen in this fight. Like I'm not setting anything in stone. That's just where I'm going.
Mark, you're going to go with the fighter who only has 1 defeat on his record is Magulov, or the guy who has only 2 defeats in Kutateladze?
I think I'm going to end up going Kutateladze as well. I thought I'd be alone there. The favorite is Ismagulov. He is minus 165. Kutateladze is plus 135. This is such a high-level fight that I feel like no one is talking about. Like, Ismagulov, as you said, is 23-1 overall. He's 4-0 in the UFC. He has wins over Rafael Alves, Thiago Moises, Joel Alvarez. Like, these are good dudes. And Uram is 12-2 overall. He's only had one fight in the UFC, but it was beating Mateusz Gamrot. It's been a year and a half, 2 years since he's been in the cage, and maybe that's why the hype isn't as much. Ismagulov hasn't been terribly active either. But Uram trains with Khamzat, so I'm sure he's been working. And as much as I've noted in the past on here how good I think Ismagulov is, I think Kutateladze can pull this off, because as good as Ismagulov's wrestling is and his control is, Uram is just so much more dynamic. Like, he presents so much more of a threat. And sometimes I'm a sucker when it comes to that, because, like, I want to pick the dynamic guy who can finish it over the guy who can't really finish it. But I think he pulls this out. I think he's just athletic enough, just scrambly enough, just powerful enough that I think he's going to find a way to edge these exchanges in a small way. Plus, he did well grappling with Gamrot. Granted, it's a different kind of grappling that Ismagulov brings than what Gamrot brings, but I trust him to get it done. I'm going to say that Uram wins a decision. Maybe it's even a split decision. I do expect a close fight, but I'm going to go with him.
Nice. Omar?
He won.
Oh, that was what I said. Yep.
Okay, moving up into the middleweight division again, we have Joaquin Buckley.
Mike, what are
taking
your
on
picks, by the way? You're taking an easy night over there.
I'm waiting for the juicy ones for me.
All right.
I'll do this one and the rest of them from here on out.
All right.
Albert Durayev taking on Joaquin Buckley in the middleweight division. Durayev, the machete, Russian, 15-3, 9 submissions to his name. Buckley, needing no introduction to the diehards. One of the most spectacular knockouts we'll ever see. It's going to be attached to his name for the rest of his life. Coming off of back-to-back wins, he himself 14-4 as a pro, only 28 years old, entering his prime. Mark, why don't you take this one first?
I'm looking back real quick. Yeah, I've not taken a single underdog on this card yet, and I'm going to start here. Got to take one at least. The dog is Buckley. He's minus 185. Durayev is minus 225, so fairly big favorite. Durayev has won 10 straight fights. He hasn't lost since getting KO'd in 2014 by Anatoly Tokov, who in my opinion is the second best middleweight in Bellator right now. So the dude's resume is legit, and he's a 2-1 favorite for a reason. But I don't know. I'm not going to pick him. All his losses, I mean, there's only 3, but all his losses are by KO. I've only seen him fight the one time in his debut that obviously he won, but he kind of got hit a lot. And I don't love it. I don't think that's a great recipe for success against a guy who can hit as hard as Joaquin Buckley. So there may be some hairy moments for Buckley. Of course, maybe he just gets out-grappled and my take doesn't look so great. But I think he showed progress in his last fight against Al-Hassan. Not the same level of grappler, but I thought his grappling looked much improved in that fight. And I think he's the much more dangerous guy. And I think Durayev can be hit. So I think Buckley finds a big shot at some point and gets it done. I'll say round 2 KO.
Omar.
Yeah, I'm very similar on this as well. I think that there will be some opportunities, especially with Durayev trying to take it to the ground. I don't think the grappling will be similar to the Al-Hassan fight, because that's not really Al-Hassan's game, to try to take things to the ground. But that will be Durayev's. I'm assuming that will be Durayev's game plan, is find a way to take it to the ground and then use the grappling to get a submission and take it home. But Buckley is a strong kid, man. That he's not weak in any stretch of the imagination. The way he throws with a ton of weight behind it too, and I think you can see it even when people block these strikes, they feel the impact. And I think he'll be able to keep the fight standing at least in the early rounds. I think once fatigue starts to set in, things can change very quickly. But I think Buckley will be able to get it done before that happens. I'm going to go Buckley KO round 2.
I'll take the opposite side. I'll go with the favorite. I'll go with the Russian. Just given his record and his submission pedigree, I'll say he's going to submit Joaquin Buckley in the second round.
That man has never been submitted in his career.
Oh, shit, really? Fuck.
Buckley has been knocked out, but he's never been submitted.
He's been knocked out or TKO'd 3 times. Hey, the law of averages is on my side.
Yeah.
First time for everything, man. Okay.
I don't see it. I don't do
I
it.
like
don't
this
see
fight.
it.
I like this next fight. In the welterweight division, we have Kevin Holland in his second welterweight bout, taking on the veteran Tim, the Dirty Bird Means, one of the best nicknames in MMA. We got Tim Means, 38 years old, born in 1984, with a pretty cool record, pretty impressive record, 32-12, and 1 draw, 1 no contest, 19 wins by knockout with 5 submissions to go with that. Kevin Holland, pretty popular guy, no real introduction to MMA fans. One of the chattier Cathys in the cage. I can't believe I just called a fighter a chatty Cathy. He was successful in his move down to welterweight, and he pretty much crushed Alex Oliveira back in March of 2022 by TKO. Omar, let me go to you first this time. Kevin Holland, his second fight at welterweight, taking on the vet Tim Means. What's your take?
I go Kevin Holland all day, short of some sort of top 5 pick somewhere. Chances are I'm going to be going Kevin Holland for the most part. I love Tim Means. On any other occasion, I'd probably be going for Tim Means. But just Kevin Holland, I love the way Kevin Holland fights. The mental warfare is just fun to watch as well. But the reality is that kid is effective, man. That kid is effective, and he's coming in there to fuck you up every single time, whether that's on the ground, whether that's elbows, whether that's long strikes. Kevin Holland's got a good pedigree, and I love his attitude too, right? Like, he knows he sucks on the ground. So what does he do? He goes and he gets abused on the ground for months until you can't do that to him anymore. Hopefully. We don't know what the fruits of that labor have been, but I love the mindset that that's what he wants to do to get better. So I love fighters like that, man. I love fighters who are able to be honest with themselves, who don't try to like tell them, I'm a good grappler. You know what I mean? We don't get any of that with Kevin Holland. He's like, nah, he took me down. He straight up messed me up. I got to go. I got to figure it out. And I think that kind of mentality we're going to see every time he comes into the octagon, a better Kevin Holland. So I'm rolling with Kevin Holland, TKO, round 2. Sorry, Tim Means.
Nice. Mark?
Yeah, I didn't even think about the shit talk aspect. That could be good because obviously Holland's going to be talking, and Means will talk in there, and he'll even get fired up if he doesn't like certain things going on in the octagon. So we might see some fireworks in there. But Holland is a fairly big favorite. He's minus 275. Means is plus 225. I really like this test for Holland, and I like the opportunity for Means. I think it's a great matchup. Means is probably on what is his best UFC run right now. He's won 4 in a row before. This is only 3, but the quality of opponent is higher here. And a win over Holland would really let him take a step up that he hasn't been able to really break through in his UFC career. So it's a big one for him. Holland, as you said, he's 1-0 since dropping to 170. He would establish himself more as a contender with a win here, and I think he does it. I think he has too many advantages over Means. Means is nasty. Like, I like Means too, but he kind of needs to be able to fight his type of fight, and I don't think Holland's length or speed will allow that. I think he's going to be hitting Means too often, too fast, too hard. I think he's the better defensive fighter. I honestly may even trust Holland more on the mat. Like, they're both opportunistic sub guys, but just because of Holland's size, I don't feel like Means can control him on the mat. Maybe I'm going to eat those words. Because both guys can be slick at times down there. Means has definitely shown that before, but I think Holland gets it done. I think he can find a finish, and I'm going to say we get a club and sub, kind of like out of nowhere club and sub in round 2.
Oh,
I think Holland's just unorthodox enough, and that's saying something because Tim Means is unorthodox himself in his right, but I think Holland is just even more unorthodox that it's going to give Tim Means trouble.
I think the story of this fight is going to be the the size, the athleticism, and the age. Tim Means 38. Kevin Holland, about a decade younger, is going to be not just 10 years younger, but an inch taller. He's going to be the bigger man, and I imagine he cuts a ton of weight to make 170, having come down from middleweight. And I think that's going to be a story. I think he's going to hurt Tim Means. Mark, I'm going to second your pick. I'm going to say he's going to get a TKO. I think you said club and sub. I'll go TKO in round 2.
Yeah, I meant to say the reach advantage. I don't think I actually said it. Maybe I did, but it's 6-inch reach advantage, so pretty significant.
Yeah.
Height-wise, they're just right about there, though. I didn't realize Tim Means was so goddamn tall.
He's a tall, lanky guy.
I didn't realize
he's
6'2". I would have said like maybe 35. I didn't realize he's 38. He's really getting up there.
Yeah.
Bro, Tim Means has been around for forever. Since 2012, he's been in the UFC. Jesus.
All right, guys, fun one. Co-main event of UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett, is going down in the lightweight division. Donald Cerrone versus Joe Lauzon. It is happening in the books, or rather on the books again. These two tried to have this fight not too long ago. I don't know which event off the top of my head. Maybe you guys do. That bout had to get canceled because Cerrone came down with some kind of illness.
Yes.
Food poisoning. Food poisoning
Right around weigh-ins.
Yep.
It was like the morning of, I think.
Yeah, got pulled right before the event happened. Yeah. But they are making it happen this time, guys. Once again, it's going down at lightweight. Mark, let me throw it over to you first. What's your take of these two veterans and pretty much these two legends, throwing down this Saturday night?
Yeah, one of them certainly a legend, but Lauzon, I don't hate if you want to
borderline
on that either. Cerrone is favored. He is minus 170. Lauzon is plus 140, so fairly close. Obviously, we already broke this one down on a prior episode. I went with Cowboy then. I'm going to stick with him now. I won't fully go back through everything I said then, but I just think Cowboy is the one who's more actively in the fight game. Joe had kind of left the game behind, left training behind, and then stepped back in for what's likely one last fight and a chance to fight Cowboy, whereas Cowboy has been actively training and living that fighter life still. So because of that reason, I just lean towards him. It's a little scary for Cerrone because he doesn't always react well to pressure, and Lauzon is certainly going to bring that. And if he sees you not reacting well, he smells blood. He's going to go for it. But I have to pick Cerrone here. Just I said this last time, when these guys were in their primes, Cerrone would have beaten Lauzon every day. I truly believe that. And I get it that they're not, but I just can't imagine a world where Cerrone is not beating Joe Lauzon. So I'm going to go with him. I don't think Lauzon will have an advantage on the mat the way he usually does because Cerrone is filthy there as well. And I think that Cerrone should have the striking advantage. I certainly hope he still does. So I said it last time. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to say we get a vintage Cowboy moment, big head kick, drops Lauzon, and either just jumps on him with punches or maybe with a choke, but either way gets him out of there. I will say round 2.
Or
yeah, just to add to the insecurities of this fight, Cerrone's mental game can sometimes be literally his downfall. And, you're talking about pressure in the fight. We can talk about pressure leading up to the fight being Cerrone's downfall. You know what I mean? And for as not big, I guess, as this card technically is, there's a lot of eyes on this fight. And especially with this fight being essentially a loser, leaves town kind of fight, there's got to be some additional pressure to win. And those, I think, are the type of things that Cerrone doesn't react well to. So I could totally see Joe Lauzon catching Cerrone because Cerrone isn't really doing anything because he's, frozen from the moment.
Yeah.
With that being said, I also would hate to contribute to a world where Cerrone is not beating Joe Lauzon. So, although there are those possibilities, I'm still going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with Donald Cerrone. I'm going to go with decision, but I'm going to go with Cowboy.
I don't think it's hard. I think it's a brain decision to go with Cowboy. I think, as great as Joe Lauzon has been, as awesome as he is in his career, he's a fan favorite and rightfully so. I think Cowboy's better just about everywhere. I think he's better on the feet, and I think he can match Lauzon on the mat. So I'm kind of on the border between the decision and a finish, but I'll go decision as well in terms of Cowboy Cerrone. I think he's going to come close in some moments in the fight, maybe in the second or third round or something like that. But I think he's going to come away with a UD.
Like it.
Nice.
Okay. It is main event time, ladies and gentlemen.
Is
UFC Fight Night headliners, Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett, a fight of real consequence going down in the featherweight division. Let us cue this up real quick. Calvin Kattar, 23-5. Josh Emmett, 17-2. I feel like Josh Emmett is a low-key featherweight star. My man only has 2 losses to his name, and he's one of the heaviest hitters pound for pound in the sport. I said it. Mark, let me throw it over to you first. What's your take on this fight, which is sure to be a banger?
Yeah, this is a banger. You said it. Calvin Kattar favored here. He's minus 230. Josh Emmett is minus 190. It's going to be a hell of a main event. These boys are going to throw down for sure. I did think Kattar was going to get himself something more than a Josh Emmett matchup after his last fight, but if he wins this one, it will be a certainty for his next fight that he's in a big deal featherweight fight. But that aside, Josh Emmett is a beast, and he is on a really nice run right now. He hasn't lost since he got KO'd by Jeremy Stephens back in 2018. He's won 4 in a row. He's got 2 KOs of his own in that run, and he is absolutely a threat to anyone he's in the cage with. But what Calvin Kattar showed in his last fight against Giga is not something that I can pick against right now. He was simply operating on another plane from where Josh Emmett operates. And if you want to throw a little MMA math in the mix, he was able to KO Jeremy Stephens, who obviously got the better of Emmett. So there's that too. But I'm going to ride with Calvin Kattar and the pressure game that he put on display in his last win. But frankly, I just think he's better. I think he's going to show Emmett that there's levels to the striking game. Kattar has the better chin, in my opinion. Emmett can be cracked. He's only been finished the once, I believe. I'd have to look back at his record. But he has been hurt and kind of stunned at times in fights. Kattar's chin is crazy. I think Kattar's power is enough to earn Emmett's respect and keep Emmett from being able to swarm him the way he likes to do. And I even think that if Emmett goes to his wrestling, that Kattar's wrestling is good enough to hold up there. So I'm not saying Emmett can't win it, because of course he can. Anyone that hits as hard as him can win, but I just think all the checks are in the boxes of Calvin Kattar. So I'm going to go with him. I'm torn on whether I want to call a finish. I could see it coming, especially since this is 5 rounds. I could see it coming in 4 or 5, but I'm going to go with a UD for Calvin Kattar.
Omar, give us your take on this main event and then ultimately your pick.
I think one of the main things for me that sticks out, especially when I think of their fight styles and the way they approach their games, Emmett is very hook heavy. He's a very tight fighter. He tends to not play on the outside. If anything, he's trying to move in, close the distance, essentially crash the other person's distance, and then utilize his short hooks and things like that to really implement as much power as he can behind his strikes, which is why Emmett gets as many KOs as he does. I just think Calvin Kattar is way too good. I think his movement is next level. I think his actual use of the jab is elite and effective.
Yes.
I think Calvin Kattar's boxing overall is just significantly better than Emmett's, and I think it's more complete. I think Calvin Kattar has just as much use of the hooks as Emmett has. I just think he uses it a little bit more efficiently than Emmett does. Emmett tends to use a lot of his hooks to try to close distance, ducking under punches and winging hooks to try to move people back. And I think Calvin Kattar has too much lateral movement to allow Emmett to push him back, straight back against the cage, and then utilize those kind of advantages. Kattar, I think, will be doing a lot of jabbing, a lot of moving around in circles, a lot of quarter stepping off to the side. And I think we're gonna see, for a term that makes sense or whatever, I think it's going to be a lot of the bull and the matador happening in that fight, with Josh Emmett being the bull and Kattar being the matador. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. I think there's a lot of danger for Kattar in that fight, especially if he does get hit, because Emmett Emmett might as well be in there with 2 sledgehammers in his hand. So there's a lot of risk involved in not being perfect in that fight. But I think Kattar is on that level. I think he's elite. I think he will be elite for quite some time. I think he can definitely get it done. I think Kattar utilizes a lot of counters and will end up with a KO victory round 3.
Yeah, I meant to comment on the jab. I too think that he works behind that jab all fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks some fucking striking record as well, because Kattar is just crazy with the way his hands work.
Yeah, he throws a ton of volume.
Yep.
Well,
As much as I want to say that Emmett is going to have sort of a real career-making win here, some kind of huge knockout on such a high-profile guy, I'm going to agree with you guys, and we will be unanimous this week for this main event. And I do think that Calvin Kattar's stand-up skills overall are just going to trump Emmett's. I think he's going to overwhelm him with volume. And I'm going to say it's going to be a bloody battle that's going to go the distance. I think Emmett is going to not get finished. And I'm going to say that Kattar's going to run away with a UD by volume. And that does it, boys. Anything else you guys want to say about this card, this fight night?
Give us credit, baby. That was under 2 hours. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah,
efficiency over here.
I got to say, we were talking recently about the quality of fight nights, and I think the UFC listens to the podcast. Because this one's
nice.
Top to bottom solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Let us